Welcome to the Balance Blueprints podcast, where we discuss optimal techniques for health and finances and then break it down to create an individualized and balanced plan. I'm your host, John Proper, here with my co-host, Justin Gaines. In the first episode of our podcast, Justin and I will go into our backgrounds, our journey, how we got here, and our goal with this podcast. We'll also talk about New Year's goals, how to set them, stick to them, and other techniques we use to stay successful and thriving throughout the year. We can't thank you enough for being here and listening, and we hope you enjoy this episode. I've always been interested in health. Throughout my career, high school, biology, chemistry, those were my most interesting subjects. So I went that route, went to school thinking I wanted to go into conventional medicine. So I went more of a pre-med track. Saw some flaws with that. I just questioned it, like we talked about earlier. Is this really keeping people healthy? Blah, blah. I was always interested in food too. I cooked at a very young age. My grandmother, my mother taught me how. So I think having that relationship with food really made me think too, I'm eating this stuff every day. Why are we not talking about nutrition at all? And then I had a nutrition class. I had an anatomy professor who really thought different and really helped me there. So I kind of changed my view path to go towards nutrition. And senior year, when we met, I got pretty sick with a lot of, we can go into that too, but whether it was stress and other stuff. An issue I've dealt with in the health world is orthorexia. And that's just quick terms is you're very scared of doing an unhealthy thing because you think it's going to really, really hurt you. And I remember reading when I was looking the first time, WebMD, do I have this? Because I'm freaking out, because obviously I do.
Right. Yeah, you definitely do.
Yeah. And I read a line. It was I read a line that said, if you would rather not eat and just starve than eat, let's say McDonald's or this or that. And I was like, what's wrong with that? I was and then after that, I was like, oh, all right. So maybe, this idea of balance, and I think this idea of balance, everyone has a different balance. So I would get a lot of heat throughout my health career too, of you're too strict, you're too, and if I don't feel that way, that's okay. Now there's times I definitely do. There's times where I'm okay, incorporate more balance. But I think what's important is what's my balance is not what's your balance, which is not anyone. So that's why we want to give out a lot of information so you can decide where you want to be on this scale. But that really kind of finalized, I don't want to go into the conventional medicine path because I came up with a lot of dead ends going down that way. I'm trying to heal myself. So since then, it's just been a journey of things where, I've felt hopeless myself. I haven't gotten answers myself. I've questioned how things work. They don't add up. And I think that journey myself that I know a lot of other health people go through is really what makes you then you learn so much through that you're what else am I going to do? This is useful information that I know other people go through. So that's why I've then gone through and created Uteria Health, which is the start to, my health company. And I'm going to continue my schooling and hopefully just kind of be an overall holistic dietitian health coach through there. But
it's definitely been an exciting journey to be on with you too, to see you grow throughout the experiences and for the first probably year and a half of knowing each other, I didn't even know that you had the health issues pushing you. It wasn't until we further developed our relationship that I learned those things. But yeah, we always talked about it because almost everybody knows somebody who's impacted by some sort of major medical issue. So I'm not talking about a common cold. I'm talking, cancer, MS, a lot of these large, big ticket issues that get a lot of the talking points. But what doesn't get the talking points is, unless it's genetic, and it's truly genetic, which I'm sure we'll get into these topics as well. But generally speaking, a lot of those major health issues aren't a result of you being born a certain way. It's typically a result of compounding small, poor decisions that then add up to resulting in this negative outcome. And the same is true in the health space. It's typically you don't wake up with credit card debt. You don't get born into, maybe some families do. You do get born into poor financial situations as far as debt, and you have to take that on, and you having to help with the family finances and that sort of stuff. And for those people, I definitely have a soft spot for them and want to work with them probably the most, because I think there are small things that as you start to educate yourself, you'll be able to then compound them and get out of that hole faster, or just get out of that hole in general that you may not have been able to do before. And that's what really motivates us. But the background on me is So I grew up on a farm, roughly 200 acres, beef cattle. When you grew up, you had chores before you ate breakfast, and you had chores when you got back from school before you had dinner. And, we still played sports and we did all these things, but it was very regimented, very focused on, there was a lot of work and stuff, which is definitely what built my work ethic. But we also had other family businesses. Almost every one of my aunts and uncles has a farm or some sort of other business that they operate. My grandparents also have a mechanic shop. My family has 2 or 3 businesses that they operate. Now, a lot of people, when they hear, oh, there's all these businesses, you think somebody is very well off. We were not. None of these businesses had employees. They were all very entry level. They provided for the household income, and that was it. That was all it did. It wasn't by no means are we in a rich situation here. I would say that I grew up very lower middle class. I wouldn't necessarily say we were poor, but we were definitely lower middle class on that line. And my parents did a great job of providing and making it so I didn't even know that until now. Looking back, you're like, wow, okay, now that I know a little bit more about financial positions and all this stuff, okay, they did a really good job of hiding that. And so owning a business has always been in my blood. I've always known that I've wanted to do that. I had it declared that I was a BS in marketing, BS in accounting, and I was going to get my pre-law certificate. I knew that going into it. That's what I wanted to do. Now, fast forward to 4 years go by in college, and I graduated in 4 years with a BS in marketing and a BS in accounting. And I had to drop 2 classes out of the pre-law certificate. So I'm 2 classes away from having a pre-law certificate. I'll never go back and get that pre-law certificate just because you know how we feel about that piece of paper, and that the knowledge is more important. I never want to be a lawyer, so I don't need the piece of paper. So there's that balance between needing the piece of paper to be able to say or do things, and then also just needing to acquire the knowledge. But the reason I went in declared on that was your 3 major areas of expense for a business are marketing, sales, accounting, finance, and legal. And so my thought process was, let me be a generalist in all 3 of these areas in order to be able to hire the best talent in those areas once I have my businesses. And then throughout college, I had started and sold multiple businesses, everything from, a mobile VR gaming setup that we did at Siena and other college campuses, to, a laser engraving machine that we made coasters, and I had an apparel company and all these sorts of things. So I dabbled around and just had a lot of fun with it. And then come senior year, I was approached with an opportunity to move into the insurance and finance investment space. Jumped at the opportunity because it was the opportunity of a lifetime, and haven't looked back. And now, flash forward 4 years from there, of owning my own agency, owning my own insurance agency with financial practices involved with that. My focus now is just on being able to impact as many people as possible, because I've seen what can happen if you fall prey to what I call financial vampires, which are the individuals that are in the space of insurance, of finances, and are only looking out for their pocket and their commissions, and aren't looking out for the bigger picture and the long-term play for their clients. Unfortunately, it's an industry where you can make a lot of money, and you can make a lot of money quickly if you do it the wrong way, or you can make a lot more money longer term if you do it the right way and you help out individuals. But it happens all the time where we see clients that we just need to move into a new strategy because the strategy that they were on is highly inefficient and was set up in order to line somebody else's pocket, and they just weren't aware of that.
It's been a fun journey because, and I think this is a great transition, both of us, while we had different fields, different stories, we had a lot of similarity, and there's something that lights the fire under us in terms of if it was our own situation growing up of why we want to help someone, or, stuff we've seen. And then, I wasn't in the conventional medicine space, so I was very holistic from the start. And you and I both had a huge interest in mental health, personal development there, motivation. And, that's why we clicked, because just thinking different, going about this is how I was raised, or this is how it's always done. And with that drive and, fire under you of is this how things go?
I think that's why I think that's why the focus on us just always learning. I mean, we're constantly talking about the different books that we're reading and just pushing each other and saying, "Oh, have you heard about this?" Well, no, I haven't. Let me go read on it, and whatever the case may be. But just diving deeper constantly and just constantly questioning things, I think, is what's allowed us to really grow as individuals and just be able to help our clients, because we were able to have such a wide scope of knowledge, and also willing to say that I don't know that. Let me get back to you.
Yeah. The more you learn, the less you know. That's how I feel every day. A lot with this stuff. It can be overwhelming. And even if you're not trying to learn it, I know health and finances for people can be overwhelming just in general. It kind of makes them shut down. So,
one thing that I'm learning in life now is like how to have more fun and not be that stick in the mud. Because I definitely, there's that extreme. And I think that's also what we're going to talk about on this podcast, is just staying outside of those extremes of, there's a balance, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't have a good time while you're at college or you shouldn't have a good time in life, but you need to understand at what expense. What are you giving up in order to achieve that? And because we were in fields that were on paper appeared to be so very far apart, it allowed for us to have some really engaging and interesting conversations, which is why we jumped into this podcast. Is they seem like they're in two completely different areas, but they overlap, and a lot of the techniques and a lot of the skills that you need in order to be successful in both of these areas are generally the same skills, just applied in different areas of your life.
But yeah, and I think that's a perfect transition too, though, of just for our first one, especially with it being the new year. And I think it being one of the major reasons we connected from the start is, what kept us motivated, what kept us on track, what keeps us disciplined. And not that we're perfect at this, but, we both knew that's what the other individual wanted. So we wouldn't really let, the other person in college like slack off. We would let them enjoy their time, but we knew what was more important. So I think we should definitely go into some things for the new year, tips that we do, things that we do that might help people stay motivated, stick to their goals.
Absolutely. I think you made a good point too of saying, we're not perfect on it. And I honestly think that's probably the first and most important thing to recognize, is that you're never going to be great at it. Like you could be, I guess great's not the right word. You could be great at it, but you're never going to be perfect at it. If you were perfect at it, you'd be a robot. Yeah. Because you wouldn't have the emotions that play into it. But I think a big thing, because I'm going to try and pull myself out of where I'm at now in the systems I use and go back to where it was in the beginning, and then bring us up to current date. But in college, I think what allowed me to be consistent and regimented when our relationship started was we were like just brutally honest, in a joking way, but just brutally honest with each other. Like, you sure you want to eat that? You sure you're going to skip the gym today? Like, are you sure you're too tired to go for a jog? Like, it was jokes like that of like really putting pressure on the fact that it's not a matter of I don't have time or I don't have interest or, whatever the case may be, whatever your excuse is. It ultimately comes down to whatever your excuse is, it's not actually that, it's that it's not a priority.
Yeah.
And just identifying and being, introspective to be able to say, okay, I'm constantly pushing away from this. Why is it not a priority? Should it be a priority? And if the answer is no, it shouldn't be a priority, then forget about it. Don't worry about it and continue to push it away and continue to say no to it. But if you want it to be a priority and you notice that you're constantly pushing it away, start to self-identify, why am I pushing away on that? And that's what's going to then, at least in both of our journeys, I know this is true, where when we start to question that, that's when we start to find other vulnerabilities and weaknesses in our character or our psyche that we're then able to go in and address, handle that, and we see a domino effect into so many other aspects of our life.
Yeah, definitely. I'm reading a book now, and it's basically exactly on this topic, and I thought of you because the scenario in the book, this guy was supposed to work out with his friend early in the morning. The night before, he texted him like, hey, I'm not going to make the workout. I'll see you later in the day. And, it's hard to keep yourself accountable sometimes. So that's why I wanted to start this podcast with you, because there's power in numbers and having someone else keep you accountable. So his friend in the book said, well, why? Like, why aren't you going to be there for the workout?
Right.
And he responded with a reasonable thing. Well, I stayed up. I have to stay up late because I'm behind on work, blah, blah. And then even there, most people would stop. But the guy said, why are you behind on your work? And that may seem like I'm in it. He said in the book, like, it aggravated him that his friend was questioning him, so blah, blah, blah. But then, he got to a point, and this is where I want to be. And I think we're pretty good at this, but, even for our relationship, I think we'll get solid as time goes on. But from the beginning, it was kind of a joke. Like, we'd call each other out on our BS because that's what we were doing. But now, I think it's transitioning to a serious level of like, I'm calling you out because I care about you. And it's like, well, why are you behind on your work? Oh, well, I did this. Okay, well, there you go. So like, now can we change that about you? And now you won't miss your workout for me in the morning,
Right.
So,
right.
But it's important, like you said, focus on the right things too. Don't, if you have and you've expressed to me, say you want to be fit, you want to be blah, blah, and you're not doing it, then I can say, okay, you said you wanted this stuff. Now, if you're trying to go towards something you don't want, I'd be like, well, yeah, why are you putting all your time and energy into that? You don't want that. So, you brought up an important point there. So I think a really good tip is get clear on what you want, because it's very hard. We have so many, and this is what I'm going through right now with my personal journey, so much stimulation, internet, blah, blah, like you got to silence the noise and really get clear on what you want. And then you can get a nice attack plan going for that.
Right. No, for sure. And I think on that same point is, and my girlfriend constantly gives me a hard time about this, because I am the type of person that, like, if I hear something that I think is a really good idea, I'll try and start doing it. And then next thing you know, I'm trying 7 different things at the same time, and they all end up not working because I try to do 7 different things. And so I think the other like big thing that I've been told, because I have sales coach and trainers in my life that are constantly giving me feedback as well. And one of the big things is, focus on one key area, 2 additional areas, so 3 at most, but 1 is your key focus, and then 2 additional that maybe compound or are in completely different areas of your life. So if I have something that's business focused, I have something that's also relationship focused, and then something that's health focused, or whatever the case may be. Maybe it's something to do with the house and I want to get it done. I mean, ironically, the thing in the background here is my girlfriend and I, we do a monthly meeting where we sit down and we just chalk out like the things that we need to work on. The 6 areas are broken down. There's home, family. I'm trying to read it because I don't remember all of them. There's 6 different categories though. And we just sit there and we chalk out, okay, 1 color is for both of us, 1 color is for her, 1 color is for me. And what it allows us to do is, 1, catch each other when we're saying like, oh, we're going to work on these 6 different things. And they're all in the same category. It's like, that's never going to work. But we can also just like keep each other pointed. And even in each of the 6 categories, typically we're working on something specifically in 3 of them. The other 3, there's like checkbox to-do list items that we need to do. And that allows us to keep each other accountable. And then because it's a romantic relationship as well, what I like about it is it also separates the ability to just like nag the other person about it.
Yeah.
You have a set time once a month where we sit down, we talk about this. And then if it's something they're working on, like I'll check in on her and I'll say, are you still working on this? And if the answer is yes, and the answer isn't no, or can I have help on this? Like, don't talk about it until the next meeting. Like, as long as, don't harp on it, don't overdo it, but having 1 specific thing you're focused on and then 2 smaller things over the course of a month. And realistically, probably from a psychology standpoint, it should be over 12 weeks, 13 weeks to build a habit. But over the course of a month, you can start to pivot and see which ones are actually priorities. Because a lot of times I'll put something on my list of like, okay, I'm going to work on this. And then it ends up dropping off halfway through the month or within the first week. And then when that happens, I have to sit back and say, well, why did I even put it on there? Like, what was I trying? What was my end goal with this? And does it even make sense?
I think it goes along with a lot of the times I feel we read different books and then we'll talk and we'll be like, wait, that's the same thing. They say it in different ways, but like everything you just explained in a lot of the health books that I read. And when we talk about staying motivated, disciplined on your goals, for me, I think it's just easiest to relate it to like learn yourself, because you got to know what those goals are, like we just said. And it goes along with everything you just said. in the book I read, they just say only take opportunities that align with your values, because there's going to be a million great opportunities in the world. There's going to be a million things to do. Like you said, you take on 7 and then you end up not doing them great. And there's going to be amazing things that are noble that might, like, it's great to save someone's life in the emergency room, but that's not what I want to do. You know what I mean? So it's like, take opportunities, take things and goals that align with your values. And then it is going to shrink it down to like what you said. Even you diversified them, which is awesome. Like, it's 3 different things. But if you think about it, it's like you have certain values about your work, you have certain values about your relationship. Like that's what you're doing, and you're not getting too broad. And when you told me, that's just one of my favorite things you told me that you two were ever doing. Cause like the day you told me that, I was like, it's just so good, especially for a relationship. You have to do the work these days and you have to keep people accountable. And I think a lot of people get very frustrated, especially if they're at the beginning of their journey, because I think when you're in the middle of your journey, because I want to say middle because you don't have the wisdom yet to realize this, but when you want to call someone out because you care about them, you have to realize they might not be there yet, because they'll take that as an attack, and really want to help them along. But I think it's so important these days. You're there to help each other out, like you and your girlfriend are doing. You're calling each other out. You're just keeping each other on track. And it's not to attack, not to say, hey, you're lacking here. It's to say, you've expressed you want this to me. Right. Let me help you get there.
And that's the key part, is you're pushing each other for something they both want. Yeah. And then the nice part with the meeting setup of, we sit down and we say 15 minutes minimum for each category. And it allows us to then also understand, am I projecting something onto this person that I want and it's not even something they want?
Yeah.
And then we can have a deeper conversation about that. But it allows you to get to the root of like, okay, what are you trying to achieve over the next? Yeah. And even though we meet monthly, we look at it as a quarterly basis. So like the 3 like action items that we're really focused on that aren't just to-do checklists, typically we're looking at over a 3-month period. And ironically, our calendar / holidays, whatever you want to call them, at least in America, are kind of set up for this. You can do your New Year's resolution in January. April Fools reminds you to do your Q2 setup. 4th of July gets you your Q3. And then by October 1st, you're starting to think about all the holidays. Now you do another one Q3, October 1st for Q4. Yeah. And it just like October 1st is really the only hard one to remember. But if you get through September where there's no holidays and you remember, now we're going into the holiday months. Yeah. Let me reset a plan. I mean, almost every year, even though I'm in the finance space, almost every year, that October 1st in and about that date is when I start like really going hard on analyzing my finances and my budget. And really that's more so what it is. It's not necessarily the finances, but the budget, and saying like, okay, let me start Christmas shopping now so that I'm not strung out in December because I try to buy all the gifts in one pay period. Because I also get paid monthly. So because I get paid once a month, my budget has to be a lot more stringent and targeted than the average individual that's getting paid bi-weekly or weekly, depending on what industry you're in.
Yeah. So just to recap real quick and add stuff when I'm done, but I'll kind of rapid fire just to condense everything we said. I think the most important things if you're starting New Year's to either start new goals or get driven on your goal. For me, number 1, I'm just going to make up this order here, is get clear on what you want. And by that, get rid of the distractions, get rid of the constant stimulation. Along my journey, I thought I'd have to look outward a lot. I'm just getting to the point now where like, and this sounds so silly saying, if I look on social media, like what I like on there must be what I like in the world. Like just turn it off, go for a walk, take some time to decompress. So get clear on what you want, write those down, get a clear path, try and do it with someone else. We hold each other accountable. You and your girlfriend hold each other accountable. Like do it with someone else. And what would you add? What would you say?
I would say the only other thing that I consistently do, and I only just started doing this a month ago, but it is huge for me on a personal and on a business side. But I literally every day I sit down and I do these daily daily goal cards, daily win cards is what I call them. And I got this from my sales trainer. By no means is this something that I did, but he started saying, every single day, you're going to write down at the end of your day, write down 5 wins for the day. And some days when you do this, it's literally going to be, I have some on here where, the one I picked up was I ate 3 servings of veggies. That's my 5th win for the day. Like it's seemingly like nothing. I woke up at 6 and was out of bed in 15 minutes instead of sitting there and just being like, oh, I don't have anything to do that.
Yeah, they don't have to be astronomical, incredible achievements.
No, they don't have to be big wins. They just need to be wins. And the other thing is to prime your psyche. You do this at the end of the day. You read all 5 of them right before you go to bed. And then you read the 5 again right when you wake up. And that's where you start your day. And then I honestly, once I've read these in the morning, I write down daily wins. I put the date and I put number 1 and I'm ready to go once I hit a win. But and I thought this was absolute BS. I did not think it was going to work, but it primes your body and your brain to just constantly be looking for something. I can't tell you the number of days that I want a lazy Saturday and I sit down, and I'm not saying a lazy Saturday is a bad thing, but I sit down and I'm having a lazy, just relaxing Saturday. Okay, that's 1 win. I took time for myself and I'm having a relaxing Saturday. But what am I going to write on the card for the other 4?
Yeah,
right. You start thinking about that. And the number of household tasks that I've gotten done because I'm like, I'm going to go clean the gutters real quick because I know that I didn't do that between seasons here. So let me go clean the gutters. It's a warm day. Boom, that can be one of my wins. Yeah. And it took me 10 minutes, but it gave me a win. And the amount of little just baby steps of things being taken off my to-do list or little wins in life, they're just constantly pushing you ahead. This is huge. If somebody was anti New Year's resolution, which I am myself, massively anti New Year's resolutions, I don't think they work. But I don't think they work in the sense of one New Year's, a list of New Year's resolutions for the year. I think if you do this on a quarterly 3-month basis, it's much more manageable. And you're also talking 1 to 3 goals, max, 3 max. But if somebody was highly skeptical about it, I would say do this for 3 months. Do it for a month. Do it for a month every single day and have this be your New Year's resolution. Then you're just going to write down 5 daily wins.
Yeah.
And watch your life change over the course of a couple of weeks.
It's insane. And I think we'll go a lot deeper into this in another episode because I just love the mental health, all of these tips, these tricks. And I think that's really what is going to get you to stick to your goals. But I'm sure this happens to you. This happens to me a lot. I've read, and let's use journaling, for example. I know the benefits of journaling. I've read a million things about journaling. Some days I won't journal. My brain will think no, I can outsmart that act. And I've gotten to the point now where you need to recognize your flaws. I can become a very pessimistic, negative person. I will journal every day because even if I feel good, it goes along with your cards. I need to set my mindset right at the beginning of every day because who knows if I didn't do it that day, I feel good that day, but it doesn't carry over into the next bad day. I need to set that straight. And I think Jordan Peterson said once that just stuck with me forever. I think he was saying that, I'm going to butcher it, but it goes along the lines of you have to break things down into baby steps as if you are a child. I like to think oh, I don't need to do that. I've learned things. I'm smarter than that. I can make it. It's nope. You need to break things down. And you said, I ate 3 servings of veggies today. That's a win. I did this today. Nothing is too small in order to get to your goals because otherwise you won't do it. You'll get into these ruts and you'll really feel that.
Well, and treat yourself like you would a child. If you miss a day, you wouldn't scold a child if they miss a day. You would encourage them and you would get them back on track. There's times that I missed a day on this, and typically if I miss one day, I miss multiple days. Typically it's a weekend. I had a really good Friday. I don't think about it. I'm going to a networking event. I'm going out with friends. I'm going out with my girlfriend.
A lot of fun things.
I don't think about it Friday night. Saturday I don't do it. Sunday I don't do it. Monday comes around and I'm like, wow, I don't have my card. First thing I do, write it down, daily wins. Actually did the card today. First one, boom, done. Like,
no, you're right, man. And we'll go into this a lot because something that hits home, and I know I keep saying that, but it's because we're just touching on so many good things. But negative self-talk is something that I struggle with a lot, and I think a lot of people do. And we'll go deep into it, but you nailed it too. Of like, act like, treat yourself as if, take baby steps like a child would have to, and also, treat yourself like a child. Don't be too hard on yourself, because there's a lot to learn there for me still, but I know it's so important, and it's, you just can't beat yourself up. It's not going to get you anywhere.
Right. No, for sure. And I would say for somebody who struggles with that sort of stuff, which I definitely struggle with, do a guided meditation on YouTube. Just search them.
Mm-hmm.
Healing meditation for your inner child. Mm-hmm. Because I struggled with it a bunch. But if you do one of those guided meditations for healing for your inner child, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever length you want to do, there's tons of them out there. It makes a huge difference. But to summarize, so we'll stay on the point of summarizing, is, for me, it's, if you're going to do New Year's resolutions, fine. Switch it, though, to quarterly resolutions, especially if you really like New Year's resolutions. Quarterly resolutions are going to be a lot more, you're going to get a lot more done. And even if you only accomplish out of your 3 one thing every single quarter, you'll have 4 accomplishments, potentially 12 if you did all of them. But you're going to have somewhere between 4 and 12 accomplishments if you just do one of them each quarter, versus failing after
looking at a very long
list.
Yeah.
From your New Year's resolution. Yeah. So, only, 3 resolutions at max. Do it every 3 months. Reevaluate. Track your daily wins. Those would be like, if I was focused on, and it is what I do, honestly, when I'm focused on trying to make a change, that's what it is. Set your timeline, 3 months to accomplish this. Track your daily wins. Track your progress towards it, and have an accountability partner.
Well, there you go. I mean, it's not and I love how it ended, because it's not your typical, write a list of 12 things and drink water. It
doesn't really work. It's
no, it
really
doesn't.
Freaking honest.
And that's why it happens every year. What's your New Year's resolution? You shouldn't have to do it every, so like you said, quarterly, we summed up a bunch of good things, and it's a great start, because all those things we'll go deeper into.
Absolutely. For sure. We're definitely going to take a deep dive over this.
Thanks for listening to our podcast.
We hope this helps you on your balance freedom journey.
Please share your thoughts in the comments section below.
Until next time, stay balanced.